Everybody, thank you so much for being here for the first Friday speaker series of the month of November. We are very excited to kick off our Arts Month here at the School to Career Friday Speaker Series with Mr. Jay Greene. Mr. Jay is the founder and head creative at Big Science Music down at Boulevard of the Allies downtown. They've worked with an incredibly impressive and vast range and variety of clients. And I want to make sure that I'm giving Mr. J the opportunity to tell you about them firsthand instead of me butchering whatever stories I've been able to glean from him. So without any further ado, could we please have a round of applause and a proper School to Career welcome for Mr. Jay Greene?
Thank you. Um, I'll just tell you a little bit about what we do, and then I'll get more into it. And if I didn't say up front, questions are always welcome at any time. So uh, I'll just tell you a little bit about me. I was born in Braddock. I've lived in the area all my life. I always wanted to be in music, like a lot of people. As a kid, we were dirt poor, so I didn't really have a way to see to do that. Um, but I made a way, and that's what we're going to talk about. Uh, what we do here at Big Science is I write music, and we design sound and sonic landscapes for all kinds of audio needs, mostly advertising. So I'll write. People call it jingles, but sometimes they're jingles, but a lot of times it's a background score or it's a driving track that powers the whole rhythm of the commercial. It depends. It's a lot about emotion and psychology more so than music in a lot of ways. Uh, so that's the gist of what we do. Uh, a part about schooling. I didn't go to high school. I quit high school. I didn't have any college. So everything I learned, I kind of learned by the seat of my pants, and I don't recommend that. But part of that I tell you because there's a way to do something through any kind of adversity, and a lot of people have had a lot bigger challenges than me. Um, so regardless of what your challenges are, I know this is what I'll intersperse today are a lot of sort of tough love and real world thoughts. Um, you can do anything, and I know people say that on Instagram a lot, and people say those words, and it's important to realize what it takes to do anything, but you can do anything. So in reality, what I've learned that you're the biggest opportunity and you are the biggest obstacle to your dreams. Uh, so having said a little bit of that setup, I'll play just a rough little piece of some tracks uh, that I've written literally thousands of pieces of music. A lot of them I forget writing. These all I do remember writing. Um, so I want to share. Like I said, I'm not the greatest at Zoom, but I think I could do this. Host disabled participants screen sharing. This is sad for me.
Sorry, no, that was totally my bad. Sorry. Please try that again. You should have permission now.
Haha.
And there's my dog.
All right. So this is some commercials without the voiceover and just little snippets of them. There's a track I did here for Georgia State University that I really love doing. They used all stills. This is a track for Western and Southern Insurance. This is one that we're going to talk about a little bit more elaborately for locally for First National Bank. This is for U.S. Cellular, and this is for Howard Hanna locally. So I'll just play that. It's very brief. I believe one.
Flexibility is so important. I love being home.
So you hear that all right and see that okay?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So yeah,
And
there were some other
they're
pieces in
familiar.
there.
That's awesome.
It's a piece that I did for Pittsburgh Foundation called One Day. They wanted a song, this one here, they wanted a song that said one day in it because there's one day, there's the big donation push. So that was really fun for me, and I got Hakeem Rashid locally to sing that. That was very fun.
It's very cool.
So my my point that I want to get back to, and I'll try to intersperse some hopefully a little bit of fun with a little bit of the harder talk, is indeed you can do anything that you put your mind to doing. The thing that frustrates me, or I won't say it concerns me, but for lack of a better word, we'll use that, is the dilution of some of these ideas on social media. In a lot of ways, it's a great thing to see so many encouraging thoughts and people saying these sort of tropes. But it doesn't happen without a lot of work and belief. Believing in yourself, believing that you can do it is sounds fine and sounds easy, but the real stuff happens when you have complete full belief. Like I look back on this on my career so far and realize, I could have done a heck of a lot more. I didn't fully realize the power that I had and that we all have until a little bit later on. And not that I can't still use that power, but there's other things I want to do with my life, and I don't want to move on to a second career that takes so much energy. But you can, in a full core belief of yourself, execute anything. As a young guy, I wanted to, I love Jimi Hendrix. I wanted to be a rock star like that. So, but I told myself I would make a living in music, and I fully believed that. I never doubted it, and even as I was moving along, I took jobs that paid me less if they got me closer to what I thought was what I wanted to do, what I knew what I wanted to do.
Mr. J, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to check real quick. I hope the answer is yes, but CEOs and students on the call, you all do know who Jimi Hendrix is, right?
Sadly, no.
Oh.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. They're teaching y'all all the wrong stuff in school. Jimi Hendrix was
That's correct.
Jimi Hendrix is still one of the greatest guitarists of all time. If y'all ever seen that guy with the afro and the headband playing a guitar that looks like it's upside down, wearing a lot of paisley, usually in outdoor concerts, one of the greatest guitarists and musicians of all time, and that is Jimi Hendrix. And I will add that to our SRF curriculum so you learn that. So sorry, Mr. J, please continue.
No, thank you. It never dawned on me. Yeah, I mean, I mean, there would be no Prince, um, and a lot of other people without Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix, I think he appealed to me. He's transcendent. Um, born in Seattle. Uh, his father was black. His mother was Cherokee, and he just took the guitar to a different place. It was very spiritual and charismatic, and he made sounds with the guitar no one had ever heard before or imagined before. So, yeah, he was a transcendent figure and short lived, but he served his purpose on this life, and it was his time to go. And he had a very short career and died after only 3 or 4 years of a large career, but uh, served his purpose. Um, so, w- one of the things that I also want to make sure I address is to dispel some of these other common things that we see all the time online, and that give me that little bit of angst because they sound like the right message, but I feel like they deliver the wrong message. And one of them that we see all the time is don't be afraid to fail. Yeah, fail, get up, do it, try it again. We see that a lot, and people mean really well when they teach that or when they say it. But there's a big side to that and a big effect that hearing that all the time has, that it's the wrong thing. And you can disagree. I'm just telling you from my life and my experience. This is what I think and what I feel. Um, the people that invented "Don't be afraid to fail" idea was Alphabet. Alphabet is the giant $1 trillion corporation that owns Google. They had so much money, they literally didn't know what to do with it, and so they hired all the brightest people from they didn't care where, and threw them all in there and gave them giant paychecks, and said, "I don't care. Think of an idea. Think of a company. Build a company. We'll give you $1 billion. Go ahead and do it. If it fails, don't be afraid, because we got money. We could keep going with this." And they do. That's who invented that idea, and it trickled down and permeated the rest of society. And we say it, but it's very dangerous because you have to be afraid to fail. It's okay if you do fail, but you shouldn't go into something thinking I'm gonna fail. That should never be what you do. It really distorts your thought energy and what you project and what you manifest by believing if I fail it's okay. Then that little mattress is behind you, and really most of us aren't Alphabet and Google, and we don't have a big mattress full of money behind us that will catch us. So failure hurts, and we may only be able to afford one failure in our lives trying a career. So don't be afraid to fail. No, be afraid to fail. If you do every possible thing you can and then you still fail, it's okay. Don't don't beat yourself up. Get up, think it through, analyze what went wrong, and try something else. But be afraid to fail. That one I really don't like. Um, so I'm gonna put up another reel. I'll disappear from sound, from hearing and talking for about 30 seconds, but you'll still see me, I believe. Okay. Am I back?
You are back.
All right, thanks. All right, so this is a track that I did for Nike, and I don't know if any of the students want to do music or are interested in some aspects of what I do specifically. And like I say, a lot of my talk really applies to anything you want to do. I just happen to do music, and I think one of the important things to me, since I never went to college or anything, it always seemed like I could study it, I could think about it, I could hear lectures about things, but to see it, I like to learn things by just seeing it. And so when you are able to see these things dissected or something taken apart to be a little less polished and big, I think that helps. It certainly would have helped me, and so that's one of the things I try to show, and I'll try to show here a little bit. So this piece has a couple of parts that I'll break down just a little bit, just for the fun of it. So I got a bunch of samples of cheerleaders and people shouting and things like that I put together with some drums and made samples so that each key plays a different sound. There's a time for programming and that Ableton stuff and all that, but there's also a time, and most of the way that I love to approach things, I'll use the computer, I'll create things and sequence things, but emotion and playing things by hand. So with your heart and live is what I love to do. So some of the stuff and some of the ways this piece came together, I'll just play just to show you some nuts and bolts behind it. So that's like the guts of those sort of samples. Then there's another piece that really has the heart of it, which is the synth. So I tweaked the synth some and built this little piece.
So cool.
I don't know
Cool.
if that's interesting to you at all, or if that's just too insidey or too boring. I don't know. Tell me.
I thought it was awesome. I want to ask real quick, Tehran and Samira, do you all know what a synth is?
It's basically, hold on. So like I'm really creating like I guess like a beat myself on FL Studio. It's like I'm very confused how I like to put the hi hats, the close hi hats and lead and synth together. Cause like I'm still trying to learn how to do it digitally and on hand. So like you can literally hear it from right here. Yeah, it's like it's very kind of so yeah. I'm trying to learn how to do that, but like a synth is basically it's like the sound that goes with the lead.
Well, so, but do you know what the word synthesize means? If something's synthetic, do you know what that means?
That I do not know.
Okay, well, synthetic means like man-made, human-made, right? So when Mr. J and you were talking about playing by hand, that means playing an actual instrument. If it sounds like a guitar, you're playing a guitar. If it sounds like a piano, you're playing a piano. A synthesizer means that it's a man-made sound of another instrument. So you saw Mr. J using a what looks like a normal keyboard as a synthesizer. And what that means is that it creates the sound of other instruments without having that instrument present. So I just wanted to make sure y'all knew the vocabulary he was using. That's all. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. J.
No, not at all. I'm happy for it. Yeah, I mean, there are different. It's funny. There's a time and a place for everything. There's things that resonate differently with different people. Sometimes an organic instrument like a violin or a drum played like a drum kit uh, is more true to our hearts and tugs at something in our deeper nature, but a synthesizer made out of equipment and electronics can sometimes do crazy things, especially when I I like to think put emotion into it all. Always put emotion into it, and you'll get a lot more out of it. So that's that piece just to show you a couple of little bits about it. And by the way, this is messy, but I use this a lot too. So it looks like a guitar, sure, but it's a little messy. But I can play the synth on my guitar, or I could play a violin or whatever on there when I need to write something quickly.
Mr. J, is that a pedal or does that have to do with, does that run through your system?
Um, it's a special pickup that converts pitch to MIDI, and then another processor that cleans that up more.
Oh, very
And
cool.
then you could trigger any keyboard or sound from a keyboard or sampler with it.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not a perfect technology, but it helps me in certain circumstances. Um, so, and feel free to stop me. I'll just touch on some of these things because if they're too if it's leaning too heavy, or if I get too thick and too deep into something, I don't need to. I just have a desire to convey these things to people starting their careers and starting their journey. Um, and I think it's really important to teach a few of these more powerful things that I've learned. Uh, Another one is this idea, and again, I don't know if any of the students want to have a career where they are do an art form like if I do music, but I sell that product. Maybe you want to write or paint or anything. But it really applies to anything, because anything we do is using our creativity. Even if we're a banker, we can use and do use our creativity. So uh, one of my biggest lessons in doing writing music for a living is there's no such thing as writer's block. People will talk about writer's block. You enjoy that?
Uh,
Yeah, there
I
it
did. Yeah.
does.
Sorry. I did a lot of creative writing when I was in high school and college, and I would always talk to my friends and be like, "Oh, I have writer's block, and we have that poetry slam coming up." And I was like, you know, the best way to get through it, write a bunch of junk, and eventually some really good stuff will come out. Like you just got to push through it. So
Yeah, and it's I'm going to take it one step further. Um, and this goes back to, and you could say it's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it's how I came from a poor kid in Braddock to doing what I do. I swear to you, um, it's the belief. So if you believe there's writer's block, but believe if I just push through it and write a bunch of stuff, I will get past writer's block. You still pay homage to the existence of writer's block. You still give it power. And I we could have a client call on a Friday and say, I have a job, here's the idea of it, and here's the budget, and I want to hear some demos on Monday. And I never say no to anything. We'll say yes, okay. And I have to write, and it has to be good. And if I believe in writer's block, I've already possibly lost my business. I just don't believe in it. And therefore, for me, it has never existed. It doesn't exist. I write, and that's that's what you do. Don't give power to things that are obstacles. Obstacles will come your way plenty from other outside forces you can't control. Don't make any that are your own. And writer's block is a big one that people, especially in creative fields, give to themselves. Writer's block does not exist unless you empower it to exist. Then it's a big ugly monster that could really take you down. So I don't know if that's too dark or too heavy. You tell me. I could get lighter. I could discuss some other lighter aspects of things.
no, that's some good real talk as far as
I loved it. I think that is so powerful and impactful because, I mean, your mind can convince you of a lot of things, but I love the fact that you, like you said, they call you on Monday, on Friday, on Monday, they have a product, a finished product, because the talent is there, the gift is there. So don't stop yourself by, thinking negatively. So I love that advice.
it
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of that phrase that Miss Carla, I know you've heard me use way too many times, but it's whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Yeah, so true.
Haha. Yeah. That's a good way. I've never heard that before. That's a good way of saying
Oh,
it.
well, in that case, I totally wrote it myself.
I'm gonna switch these reels real quick, so be gone for 10 seconds again. Okay, am I back?
You're back,
Yes.
sir.
All right. Um, so I'll play another uh, piece or play along with another piece. This is a piece. I mean, if you watch any TV, local TV, watch Steelers game, listen to Steelers on the radio, or I don't know, where else, you see this. I wanted to play some local stuff. You heard in there. I've done some Starkist, Howard Hanna, a number of pieces. This is the bank isn't my client. My client is the advertising agency, uh, and they get an idea for the spot that conveys the message of the brand for that bank, and then they come and talk to me a lot about what they think that image of that brand is and what needs to be conveyed to people. And I play this one because sometimes the simplest things are the best things. And this is a piece that's very cut and dry. There's not a lot of parts to it, like the other piece had all kind of moving parts. This one has almost none. But the idea that it's strong, it's reliable, forward-looking, and solid, and still has an air of cool and contemporary with technology, etc. So this little piece, I'll play it without the bass in it, and you can see it's a drum beat I laid down that says just solid, but it's very simple. Wait, did I not share the? Are you still seeing the picture?
Yes, the video.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'll just play along with it. What you hear. Did that come through?
It did, and it added a whole
Awesome.
a whole new, I mean, obviously a whole new layer to it, but it totally
Right.
changed the feel of the track.
In a simple but strong, confident
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
That was what the advertising agency and Garrison Hughes and what the bank goal is the feel of the brand. So there's a lot that went into keeping it simple, but sometimes you think and you think and you think, but the best solution is a solid, well thought, simple solution. And don't be afraid of those. I think that's part of the message I want to show in showing a piece like that. And again, regardless, anything that you're doing in life, I do this, but it doesn't matter. It all applies. I think about it now and think of your students. You can do anything. I don't have the energy to go to college for physics or something. I got some things that interest me now that I would like to do, but knowing what I know what I could do with it, and I could do great things, and I know anyone can, and that's just what I keep trying to convey. There's another part of the of this that I struggle with a lot when I think about it, because the truth sometimes seems to be this, that grit and perseverance and that sort of diligence comes, and great success often comes from these stories of challenge. People that either give themselves a great challenge or come from very challenged situations are more likely to do more or reach more of their potential. I'm not 100% sure why, but I think part of it is the manifestation, is the spiritual nature of it, and the emotions are strong, and the desire is burningly stronger. And then there's the just nature of us being people. We're in so many ways we're all just animals, and we have an animal nature to not be hungry. And so if we're hungry, and we're really hungry, we'll tend to fight and claw to stop being hungry. So I'm not entirely sure what drives it, but great sacrifice or highly challenged situations sometimes fuel the greatest successes. And I don't think it has to be that way, but I do think that the level of work that you put into it is usually more from someone who's coming from less. Uh, but you can also give yourself great challenges. You know, someone like Steve Jobs or someone like that. I don't think he had a particularly poor upbringing or anything, and he had great success. But he sacrificed a lot of his life. He sacrificed, relationships, time to himself. There's usually, to do something big, there's usually a sacrifice that's equal. And we tend to see a lot of things today that say work-life balance, you could have it all, you could do this, you could do that. My hard truth is no, no, you can't. The most part is, if you see yourself doing great things, you're going to have to give something up and work twice as hard as the next guy. But if that's what you want, I wanted to not be poor anymore. I wanted to not have to worry about food like we did as kids. And when I saw a path, I just put my head down and didn't stop and worked harder than anybody around me. And anyone else can do that. You just need the fire to do that. The relationships that it cost me, the experiences, the travel it cost me, that's what I sold to do this. But could I have done both? No, I couldn't have done both. And so there's a trade-off. I fully stand behind my belief that there's a trade-off, and we make our choices. But I just ask that you keep that in mind when you see some of these things saying, you could punch out at 5 o'clock and still. I ran into this 20-something guy at a party a few years ago, and he was bemoaning to me that he had been at this job for 9 months, and the boss still hadn't promoted him, the vice president, he still hadn't, he still had to work with others, and his ideas weren't, the ideas the company ran with. And I said, dude, you've just been there 9 months, man. You're not ready. You probably haven't learned. You're not ready. And he didn't want to hear it. And so I worry about thinking like that. I don't know where that guy is today, but I don't. If he maintained that attitude, it's not going to serve him well. Humility, hard work, and sacrifice for a dream is it's necessary. You could study hard and get a good regular job and find some balance there, and that's great, and that may be your goal. If you want to do great things, just be ready to give up a little more sweat and blood. Is my message there. That's all. I won't beat that one anymore, but it's a big one to me.
And it's important to know that nothing worthwhile, and even some things that aren't really worthwhile, are going to come um, without hard work. Hard work is necessary. That hustle is necessary. The grit, like you said, and the perseverance it's imperative. And there's really no way to get around it.
I that's what I believe. I'm going to switch reels real quick again. Shouldn't take long.
Real quick, I see what you did there.
Okay. Am I back?
You are back.
Yes.
Haha. That's amazing. Um, this one's an old one, but it was a big one in my career for number of reasons. I'll play this track that I wrote. Uh, so do any of the students know what Halo is?
I have a feeling he's not asking about the Beyonce song.
Right.
I would say, yeah, I do know what that is, but no, I don't know what one is.
So Halo is like a video game on Xbox a number of years back. It was a
Oh
big
yeah,
series.
that game. Yeah, that game's kind of trash, but I ain't gonna get into that.
Tell us what you really think.
So I went to California at some point, whatever, about 15 years ago, and to sort of sell what I do to some advertising agencies in San Francisco. And I met with 5 or 6 ad agencies out there. They were all really nice. They gathered their creatives in a room and talked to me and let me play some of the music I had done up until that point and talk about what I do, etc. And one of those agencies, I got work from a couple of them, but one of those agencies said, we see you put a lot of emotion into what you do. We will use you again, or we will use you at some point. So a year went by, and they finally did call with the job. They said, "You want to do this track for this game Halo?" And I don't play video games. I didn't know what it was, but I scrambled around and got the gist of it. So the point of this is, this ad agency worked at a level of understanding who their customers were in a way that was larger than life to me, and they understood the kind of story they could tell that crowd, and understood how to tell that story. And one of the great things about it to me, because I really hate, if you're going to ask me to do a piece of music, don't send me some other piece of music and say, I like this. That doesn't help either of us. That piece of music already exists. You want to use that? Use that. Otherwise, we're really diluting the process of creating something original that's going to suit your needs. So you want to create, not borrowing from other people. I don't want to write a cover song. I don't want to use other people's ideas. I want to take in all the information that you give me and create based on that information and the emotions that come from that. So these people were great. They gave me like 5 words that they wanted the music to be, and so in that, I'll play. I played them a little piece that was more involved than this, but just humor me for a second. I'll try to play this little theme. So I wrote that little theme and put it against their visuals with some other music. I played it on an acoustic guitar with some other things, and they said it's perfect. The theme is perfect. The vibe is perfect, but the acoustic guitar isn't right. Can you change that instrument and make it something larger and something more timeless, something that doesn't sound like the Wild West or whatever the acoustic guitar felt like to them. So I'll just play a little tiny piece of what this track ended up being. you able to hear and see that okay?
Yes.
Yes, that was great. I don't even play the game, but I'm ready to go get it.
So that,
It sounds sad, but really it has a vibe of like a what to call it. It sounds like a rock guitar or like a no, like an electric guitar or something like that.
it's a violin really played really low, and I used a bagpipe player also, and a little. It is a little bit sad. It's about a war that takes place in 2500, um, and so it's a little melancholy, but it's about a hero that comes up out of all of this ugliness, and and so that's some of the words they gave me. Anthemic, melancholy, which is kind of sad, and heroic. So they love that, and that piece to this day has probably gotten me the most international exposure. The people saw it and heard it and loved it and played it, and it's you know, but I played that one, as the other side of some of the aspects of my career, and why the lessons that I learned from it are important for me and for anyone, and that is it's communication. They just thought about the emotions that they wanted to have conveyed and gave me 5 words. So if you really know what you're trying to do, you want to sit down and think those things through and boil them down to actual meaning, executionable thoughts. Simple as what those were: hero, sad, anthem. But that applies to anything that you're trying to do. But once
No
you
wonder
know
it sounded
that,
like the Wild West to them. Hero, sad anthem. That sounds like a Wild West movie to me.
that's why I ended up on acoustic guitar, I think. But luckily, it translated to the violin, and the violin felt more timeless and did the job. Um, so that's that. And the other thing I would say is from the I don't want to seem cautionary. It's what it is, but I mean it all these things in a very positive way, and they're to say, don't confuse posting on social media as doing things. I'll sometimes not post even my own company, which I should, post a lot. Um, but I'll post when I have something good, and the other times I'm working. I, and you should be working at whatever it is that you do. And when you have completed something great, post that. Don't post something when you've just started. Hey, I'm going to take up hula dancing, and then you at your first lesson you're posting a video. Post a video when you're pretty good, after you're good. It's really important to not deceive ourselves that we've done something that way when we haven't. You got to put the work in for it to be real. And forget what anyone else is thinking, not thinking. Don't worry about them. Just focus on what you want and put the energy into that. That's where you're going to get things done for yourself, and that's all that matters in the end. Any of you guys have any questions about any of this?
Not at all. Oh, that was a pretty good. It was awesome. I learned a lot.
Well, thank you.
We can tell you're inspired, Turan. We can hear your MIDI in the background. That's awesome.
Uh, um, yeah, I that's through. I don't know what I'm allowed to offer. Like when I usually speak to a group of college students, or like I said, I used to speak to Chris Moore's group. I'll go to Duquesne and speak sometimes. and different places, or the Duquesne students come here sometimes. Uh, but I'll always say, you're welcome to email me with, thoughts or questions or something like that. But I would guess maybe ask through Mr. Jeremy, and I'll be happy to try to accommodate answer anything I can.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, or whether they're from this presentation or you're working on your own personal projects, or if you're in any of the excuse me, ETC programs, and you are or ECT rather programs, and you're working on any projects and you want to ask Mr. J anything, let me know, and I'd be happy to pass along any questions that you all might have. Well,
Yeah.
Mr. Greene,
There's,
Mr. J, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. I know I am not the only one.
Absolutely.
I might be the nerdiest one, but not the only one who enjoyed this. And so can we please have a, if not cameras on, mics unmuted, thank you, and round of applause for Mr. J. All right. We have an applause emoticon, so that works.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
This was amazing. I really appreciate it. I always learn so much. I did not have the pleasure of playing an instrument or singing, but I've always loved and enjoyed music, and just the talent that people have that perform and share their gifts with others. I mean, you picked up that guitar like it was, just a cell phone for, the students generation. I mean, it was just like you were going. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is just incredible talent. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, and that first track, when you said that you played every instrument, it was like, usually when I think one-man band, I think of the guy with the bass drum in front of him and a tambourine on his foot, and whole new definition for me. So that was really, really wonderful. Thank you.
You guys are too kind, but I'm happy to do it, and I hope it helps even one person.
Absolutely. Yeah. And once, we have vaccinations and contact tracing and everything under control, I would love if there's an opportunity to bring some of our students who are interested. We actually have a couple of students who are interested in, film production and that sort of thing. They're actually going to school for that, applying for programs for that for next year. So I know that audio is a big part of that. And I would love to, have this be a continued relationship if there's an opportunity for it.
All right, am I on here?
You
Yes.
are.
All right, so I don't know. It's dark in here.
Oh,
But,
wow.
Walk you
That
around
is
a little
so
bit,
cool.
a little vinyl room, and then it's it's a little bit of clutter. I don't know what you can see, but
That's so cool. Full kit, whole bunch of
That
guitars,
is.
man. Can I move in?
so my point is that you guys are welcome to come down when it's that time. Whenever you're ready. I would love to have you. Would love to have you guys come down.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much both for your time today and for that offer. We really appreciate it. And like we said, everybody, if you come up with any questions or anything you'd like to get in touch with Mr. J about, please let us know and we'll put you in touch. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. J. Again, have an awesome, awesome weekend. Okay.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye now.
bye-bye.